This is a video on solving absolute value equations, where the objective is students will be able to solve absolute value equations and graph the solution set on a number line. Here's an example of a basic absolute value equation. Solve for x when the absolute value of x equals 3. So you can pause the video and try to figure out the absolute value of what number equals 3. Well, the absolute value of 3 equals 3. But there's also another answer. The absolute value of negative 3 also equals 3. So you would get two different answers, x equals negative 3 and x equals 3. That's a simple one. What if I ask you to solve a more complicated one, like this? Well, this video will get you prepared to solve that equation. First, let's look at a few notes on absolute value equations. So here's a chart, and it gives you the three different cases of absolute value equations. The first case is where the absolute value equation, whatever is in here, equals a positive number. If it equals a positive number, you get two x values as your answer. And so that's what it's saying over here. In case 2, your absolute value equals 0. If your absolute value equals 0, there's only one possible x value that can make this equation true. And in case 3, you will have absolute value equal to a negative number. Now if you think about it, the absolute value of what number can give you a negative number? And that is impossible. No number can give you a negative when you take the absolute value of it. So there are 0 possible x values that can make this true, and that means no solutions. Alright, I want you to remember these three cases, especially this one. Now, what are the steps to solving an absolute value equation? So step 1, you'll want to isolate the absolute value, meaning you'll want to end up with your absolute value on one side and some number on the other side. If there's other stuff around the absolute value, we don't want that. Okay, after that, you will make two equations where the quantity inside the absolute value is on one side, and the thing on the other side, there's a positive version of it and a negative version. If this doesn't make sense yet, that's okay. You'll see what I mean when I do the example. After that, you will solve for your x's, and I want you to plot them on a number line. So let me show you how to use these steps. Here's an example. 8 times absolute value of x plus 3 equals 16. So the first step is to isolate the absolute value. If you notice, there's an 8 over here, and I don't want that 8. I just want the absolute value part. So, to get rid of that 8, I divide both sides by 8. And I get absolute value of x plus 3 equals 2. Now step 2, we're going to get two different equations now. So we put the thing inside the absolute value on one side, x plus 3 equals. We're going to do that for both of these equations. And then it says, for one of them, have the positive version of whatever's on the right side. So here I have a 2. I need to put the positive version of it right here. And on the other equation, I need to have a negative version of what's on the right side. So it'll be negative 2. This is the trick for solving absolute value equations, because absolute value makes something positive, so that means the thing inside can be positive or negative. That is why I said x plus 3 equals positive 2 and negative 2. Now we just need to solve both of these equations. So I'll start on the left side here, subtract 3 on both sides, and I get x equals negative 1. If I solve this one, subtract 3 on both sides, x equals negative 2 minus negative 3. Negative numbers can be tricky, so be careful. This is negative 5. And then lastly, I want you to plot these on a number line. You can put in your own numbers, so I'm just going to go negative 6, negative 5. It's not the most beautiful, but make your own number line, and then the way to plot them, you just put little dots. So negative 5 is one of my answers, negative 1 is the other, which is right here. You can also box your answers. So that's how you solve that. I'll show you a couple more. Here's one. I want to isolate the absolute value. So I want to isolate that part, which means I need to get rid of this minus 7. So I'm going to add 7 on both sides. I get absolute value of x minus 6 equals 7 plus 7 is 14. Now we're going to get two different equations. So I'm going to have x minus 6 equals and x minus 6 equals, because that's the thing inside the absolute value. Now the right side, I need a positive and negative version. So I'll put positive here, 14, the negative version here, negative 14. Now just solve your equations. Add 6 on both sides, I get x equals 20. Add 6 on both sides, I get, plus 6 here. So I get x equals negative 8. Alright, that's going to be tough on my number line down here, but let's say 20 goes here. 16, 12, 8, 4, 0. Don't worry, when I give you the number line, you'll have enough space to make your numbers. So here, x equals 20 will go right here, and x equals negative 8 is going to go right there. So that's the solution for this one. Let's do one more. Isolate the absolute value, which means I need to subtract 8 on both sides. So I get absolute value of 3x minus 2 equals negative 7. Alright. Absolute value of what can get me a negative number? The answer is nothing. This one is no solution. There is no possible number that can get me absolute value to be negative. So you don't have to worry about the number line here. Now sometimes you might see this. This means null or empty set. That just means no solution. Speaking of no solution, there's one more thing I want to show you. I'm going to give you this question on your assignment, so I'm going to help you get started. For which value of a does 4 equal a plus absolute value of x minus 4 have no solution? Okay, so we just said absolute value of something can't be something negative. That's when you get no solution. So the way to solve this problem is you will subtract a on both sides, and you will get 4 minus a equals absolute value of x minus 4. So this part right here, you need to find an a out of these 4 choices that will make this side become negative. Whichever a makes this side become negative will be the answer. That concludes the video on solving absolute value equations.